Yes, and welcome to the 20th reading. And today we're going to be going to chapter 19. Yesterday we had some bad weather here in Atlantic, so I was kind of just staying low profile and didn't do a reading, and I kind of missed it. So today we're going to pick up where we left off. Let's open up the website. And we're going to King James BibleOnline.org, chapter 19, and we left off just before the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. So hopefully we'll hear more about that now. Okay, verse 1. And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servants' house, and tarry all night, and wash thy feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did break unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house around, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him. And he said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have two daughters which have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they all understood the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand, and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, that small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides, son of the law, and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord shall send us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto the sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up and get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in any of the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold now, my servant has found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast strewn unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. And behold now, the city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. It is not a little one, and my soul shall live. And he said unto them, See, I will accept thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zorah. And the sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zorah. And the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew the cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind them, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham set up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and towards all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when the Lord destroyed the cities of the plain, that the Lord remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, and he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And then made the father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass of the morn, that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve the seed of our father. And they made the father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by the father. And the first bare a son, and called his name Moab, and the same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger she bore a son, and called his name Benani, and his name is the father of the children of Ammon until this day. Well, another big chapter. I didn't expect this one near the end. I knew about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I was expecting it. Wasn't expecting the ending of that chapter. Okay, let's take a peekaboo through it and see if there's any nuggets that I can just highlight. Okay, verse 1 clearly indicates there were two angels that went to Sodom. And then in verse 2, there seems to be this exchange between Lot and the two angels where it looks like Lot knows something's going to happen and tries to convince them to stay in the house, eat, spend the night, and then go on their way. So they say no, they got work to do. But Lot in verse 3 does convince them to come in, and they do eat, they do hang around. And then in verse 4, things started to get noisy outside the house. I guess the people from the area came around his house. And then there's a whole exchange between Lot, the people around his house, and it's kind of confusing, but it kind of looks like the people outside of his house were rowdy. And Lot, at one point, it looks like he offers his daughters in verse 8. I have two daughters which I have not known, which have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out. So I don't know whether this was to try to distract the group. Anyway, I'll have to look at some evaluations of that. So anyway, this goes on, and then by the time things get going, in verse 12, the men said unto Lot, Haste thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. So in verse 12, he's told to leave. Then there's more description, and finally there is the instruction in verse 17. It says, okay, go to the mountains, blah, 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 escape for thy life, but look not behind thee, neither stay thou in any of the plains. So go to the mountains, don't look back. Well, as the story goes, they did head out, but his wife did look back. So Lot loses his wife. And but before that, in verse 12, there is this name changing, because it looked like for some reason Lot wasn't really leaving too fast. But then they made this name change. They said, Haste thee, escape hither, for I cannot do anything till thou be gone. So basically the angels couldn't do anything till Lot left, so they renamed an area to Zorah, Z-O-A-R, Zorah. So things go and trespass, and then it is in verse 26 where Lot's wife looks back from behind, and she became a pillar of salt. And 27, now it goes back to Abram. So I guess Abram from a distance is watching all of this, and he could see the smoke in the sky. So this goes on. So now we get into this whole thing in verse 30 on, where Lot went up. He didn't want to live in Zorah. He wanted to get away from all those places, so he went up the mountain. And the daughters were with him, and they knew that there were no men around. So there's this whole thing where the two daughters get Lot to drink the wine and get drunk, and they lay with him. One, the oldest, the first night, the youngest, the second night. And they bear children from that union. It says here in verse 37, the firstborn bore a son named Moab, and then the younger bore a son called Benjamin. So this is quite the controversy, at least I find it, that where this incest takes place. So it's interesting to track and see what happens from here. Okay, well, that's it for verse 19. Again, another action-packed verse and some surprises in it. And so we'll go on to chapter 19. We'll go on to chapter 20 tomorrow. Thank you.